From the celestial realm, Lord Yama's fury resonated a chilling tremor through the very fabric of the underworld. The performance metrics, a damning testament to plummeting soul collections, lay before him, an affront to his infernal dominion. With a thunderous impact, his fist slammed upon the jade desk, his voice a guttural roar that echoed through the infernal halls. Every single one of you demon emissaries descend to the mortal realm now and salvage these abysmal soul quotas. Fail to meet your targets by month's end, and I swear your very existence in this realm will become a living torment. And so, I, a mere minor demon, found myself begrudgingly cast into the chaotic embrace of the human world. After a desperate, frantic search, my gaze guided by the cold calculation of a soul collector landed upon a formidable target, an imposing CEO, a towering figure of 1.88 meters, blessed with a perfect eight-pack, yet cruelly marked by fate for an early demise. My first encounter with Richard unfolded on a day shrouded in oppressive gloom. He appeared utterly desolate, as though the very essence of life had been siphoned from him. The underworld's privileged system, an ethereal interface, flared before my eyes, confirming the grim truth: this man had but precious little time left. "O mother of all demons!" I internally shrieked, a desperate cry escaping my lips. What kind of twisted predicament was this? In my haste, my left foot tangled with my right, sending me sprawling ignominiously before him. A godlike man of 188 meters, impeccably clad in a suit, his handsome face, a mask of cold indifference, stood transfixed before me for what felt like an eternity. I glared up at him, my frustration boiling over. "Are you some kind of special forces operative? You see me fall like this and don't even help me up, Albert." His impassive expression remained unbroken as he slowly extended a hand. Typically, those on the brink of death exhibit two types of reactions. The first believes that since death is imminent, one might as well abandon all hope. The second desperately clings to life, for it is only in their final moments that humans truly grasp the preciousness of their existence. Instinctively, I'd place you in the former category. As I rubbed my throbbing knee, I found myself offering hollow encouragement. "Hey, young man, don't be so pessimistic. Who knows? Perhaps good fortune is just around the corner." A voice distinct yet internal resonated within me. Precisely, that's it. Offer him positive words, subtly urging him into deeper despair, hastening his demise. Ever since the underworld abolished the direct soul-reaping assignments by the black and white impermanence, we minor demons had been forced into a brutal struggle for quotas, a relentless grind that often left us battered and bruised. Unluckily for me, I consistently languished at the bottom of the scoreboard, perpetually teetering on the precipice of failure. Another last place, and I would face immediate termination. Finally, a flicker of emotion crossed Richard's face. The corner of his mouth twitched ever so slightly before he turned a chilling indifference in his departure. I trailed him silently, my spectral form clinging to his shadow, until he paused by a riverbank fence. He took a long, decisive step. A surge of exhilarating joy coursed through me, my hands rubbing together in anticipation. But then, to my utter dismay, he turned, his voice cutting and cold. "Come here. Talk to me." All right, you're the boss," I muttered under my breath. "My quota depends on you." And so, I settled beside him, the suffocating aura of gloom emanating from him palpable. He offered no words, and I too dared not speak. The silence stretched an unbearable awkwardness until he finally broke it. "You know I'm dying, but my grandfather still hopes I can marry. It's a pity he won't live to see it." His words jolted me, seizing my immediate attention. "He means as long as his grandfather's wish is fulfilled, he can die." I saw my abysmal performance chart skyrocket before my very eyes. I subtly edged closer, beginning to weave a fabricated tale. "My family's been nagging me to marry and have children too. How about we give it a try?" His handsome face was terrifyingly close, yet disturbingly pale, the unmistakable pallor of impending death. He gazed at me, his expression serious. "Then let us endeavor to make it happen." Brilliant, I thought, a surge of triumph. He's even speaking my lines. And so, with a pact, forged in desperation and convenience, we hastily arranged to meet each other's families and formalize our union. Of course, I only met his family, an old man with a flowing silver beard whose radiant face beamed with absolute satisfaction. The two heavy gold bracelets he placed on my wrists were undeniable proof of his delight. Initially, I fully expected that his first act after the wedding would be to embrace death. But I was gravely mistaken. In the dead of night, he not only disrobed himself, but stripped me bare, then initiated an intimate exchange. What in the heavens is happening? But I couldn't possibly blurt out, when exactly do you plan on dying? How utterly tasteless it seemed. He was constantly occupied. Yet without fail, he returned home after work, even bringing me flowers and snacks. Was this normal for a marriage? I pondered, entirely uncertain. In the underworld, everyone was perpetually single. No one bothered with romance. Days bled into weeks, a serene, almost baffling rhythm. Undeniably, waking up to the sight of such a handsome man daily was a balm to the soul. Even a celestial being like myself was not immune to such earthly pleasures. Immersed in this intoxicating beauty, I almost forgot my primary mission until a message from Lord Yama jolted me back to reality. Unsurprisingly, you're at the bottom again this month. My teeth clenched. I bit savagely into a Sichuan spicy rabbit leg. Yes, even celestial beings crave spice. It stung my tongue, a searing heat. If only I had known the human world offered such culinary delights, I would have descended ages ago. Lord Yama, seemingly realizing I still hadn't grasped the gravity of the situation, roared again. Julia, were it not for the fact that you're a new recruit, albeit a rather dim-witted one, but undeniably diligent, I wouldn't even bother to remind you. You had best focus with every fiber of your being. If you fail to drag that man into the underworld, you will drag yourself down here instead. His tirade left me utterly deflated, the spicy rabbit leg losing its appeal. I chewed the last mouthful joylessly, then flung the bone into the trash with a perfectly executed arc. It was time to execute my plan. In the study, the man sat ramrod straight, his posture so stern it made me swallow. Richard, yours. My words were abruptly cut off as he raised a slender finger to his lips, signaling silence. Rage ignited within me. He had promised to die once his wish was fulfilled. Yet here he was still breathing. I lunged forward, intent on throttling him, but he moved with lightning speed, pinning my hands, then pulling me into a fierce embrace. Wife, you're being too mischievous. This meeting will have to be postponed. I froze, stunned, realizing he was in a video conference. Murmurs erupted from the computer voices, filled with admiration, remarking on the ardor of today's youth. Ardor? What ardor? I screamed inwardly. Can't you just try a little harder, man? Can't you just die a little sooner? Can you just help me complete my mission? Richard's face flushed, a faint smile gracing his usually cold features. Don't cause trouble, darling. Then his handsome face drew closer, his breath warm against mine, and our lips met, initiating a passionate embrace. What is happening? A knock at the door startled us both, sending us scrambling apart, feigning innocence. The door opened, and a svelte woman glided in, her figure alluring, her beautiful face meticulously made up. I glanced down at my own chest, then ran a hand through my disheveled hair, a foreign sensation blooming in my chest. Shame. Could you step outside for a moment, please? The scene was uncannily akin to a mistress confronting a wife. The woman's eyes fixed on Richard, molten with longing. If I meekly comply and leave, Richard will undoubtedly mock me. No, I won't complete my mission, and he certainly won't find joy. I decided to escalate the drama. I deliberately nestled my head deeper into Richard's chest, my voice feigning a desperate plea. I won't go anywhere. I don't believe your heart isn't mine. This was how it always happened in novels. Surely it couldn't be wrong. The woman Thoi An indeed faltered, but quickly regained her composure. You are merely a cheap substitute for when I'm not by Mr. Quiet's side. Why must women make things difficult for other women? If you don't wish to be utterly humiliated, then leave on your own. My mind raced, desperate for a counter-strategy. But to my surprise, Richard spoke, his voice chillingly stern. Thoi An, who gave you the right to judge my wife, get out. Now it was my turn to be dumbfounded. Wasn't the typical domineering CEO trope supposed to involve him coldly dismissing me, then rekindling his passion with the ex-lover? I stood there utterly bewildered until Thoi An finally departed. Only then did I fully return to myself. But then I noticed beads of sweat glistening on Richard's forehead. Was he in pain? A strange unease stirred within me. What was this feeling? The ex-lovers of domineering CEOs were typically audacious, just as Thoi An proved to be. Before long, I found myself kidnapped by her cronies. Honestly, in all the romance novels I'd devoured, 9 out of 10 featured this cliche plot twist. It was a bit stale, but better late than never, I suppose. The room was plunged into oppressive darkness. I was bound tightly to a chair, my vision swallowed by blackness, save for a sliver of light filtering through a distant window, painting a faint line on the floor. The silence was so profound, I could hear the faint, rhythmic puffs of men smoking in the distance. The ropes chafed my skin, sending jolts of pain through my body. Boss, the girl's awake, you go first. A skinny monkey-like man, his face fawning respectfully, accepted a cigarette from the burly bearded leader. He took a long drag, then flicked the butt to the ground, crushing it underfoot. This was my first time in such a situation, and I was momentarily stunned. Who was audacious enough to kidnap a celestial being and to bully me, who couldn't use magic in the mortal realm? Yes, this was indeed bullying. I forced a strained laugh. Honestly, this place isn't bad at all. Quite peaceful, actually. The men ignored me, swaggering closer, their gait clumsy, clearly underfed adolescents. Little sister, we don't want to hurt you. Just be a good girl. Let us have a little fun, and then you can die happy. Fun? What kind of fun? I screamed inwardly, desperate, calling out to Lord Yama. But he remained utterly unresponsive. Furious, I cursed into my private communication channel with him. Look, your subordinate is about to be murdered in the mortal realm. Don't you care? Have you no conscience? Lord Yama remained silent. I hastily apologized. Forgive me, my lord. Please save me. I will immediately ensure Richard's death. Still he ignored me. In a fit of pure rage, I cursed again. Lord Yama scoffed. Poor performance I forgive. Incompetence I forgive. But to secretly curse me, get out. Then silence. The men drew closer, their forms looming. This situation was truly unmanageable. I struggled with insane frenzy. But aside from the painful chafing of the ropes against my skin, they remained unyielding. My nascent career, as a celestial being poised to bloom, was now destined for a premature end. Just as despair threatened to consume me, the door was suddenly kicked open. Both the thugs and I jumped. In moments of crisis, Richard is still the most reliable. After that, Richard justly punished Thoy-an. The Thoy family crumbled in the blink of an eye, and Thoy-an vanished without a trace. As for Richard's illness, it seemed to have miraculously improved. My soul collection quota felt like an insurmountable mountain. Yet strangely, his lifeline still indicated imminent death, offering a flicker of hope. However, the mere thought of his passing now left me wavering. Did I truly want him to die? My colleagues in the underworld had one by one completed their missions and returned. My closest friend, Yu, before her departure, urged me to persevere. What should I do? I despondently asked. It seems I can't bring myself to reap his soul anymore. She looked at me, her expression grave. Have you been having trouble with your head lately? I blinked in surprise. Indeed, I hadn't washed my hair in a week. It was terribly itchy. I nodded vigorously. Her expression grew even more serious. Then it's possible you've become muddled by love. No way, don't joke, don't scare me. Her words compelled me to question if I had indeed developed what mortals called feelings. The answer was, I wasn't sure myself. I awoke, reaching instinctively for the empty space beside me. Where was he? I scrambled out of bed, searching the bathroom, the study, the living room. Nowhere. Finally, I found the housekeeper in the kitchen, preparing breakfast. Auntie, have you seen Richard? She paused, surprised. Young master should still be asleep at this hour. I had scoured every corner of the house. Suddenly an idea sparked. One more place. I flung open the storage room door. Darkness swallowed me. I tripped over something, crying out, squeezing my eyes shut, bracing for impact, only to fall into a familiar, cold embrace. Richard. In the dim light, I couldn't discern his expression, but I could feel his profound weakness. Was he having an attack? Are you hurting somewhere? Why are you hiding in here? It breaks my heart. I fumbled for his medicine, watching him swallow it, only then allowing myself to relax. He looked pallid, and through my system, I saw his life force had dwindled to an alarming whisper. This was a profound dilemma. My conscience and my future clashed fiercely, trampling over each other, testing my ethical limits. I was just an ordinary minor immortal, who under family pressure had finally managed to pass the celestial examinations. Yet now I found myself entangled in mortal emotions. It was a bitter, aching sensation, coiling in my heart each time I imagined Richard, dying before me, his soul being reaped by my hand, declaring his true disappearance from this world. This feeling, I concluded, must be pity. Recognizing this unwelcome shift within myself, I felt a pang of sadness. How could I possibly complete my mission if this continued? Perhaps I should seek out another dying soul, but to abandon him so abruptly, it didn't feel right. Rayshar embraced me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. He was so close, I could feel the fragile tremor of his life force. My turmoil only deepened. I couldn't compose myself. All I could do was let events unfold naturally. Richard's illness, though severe, seemed to abate slightly with each attack since our marriage. This brought me some comfort, and I became more diligently attentive to his care. When he worked late, I would cook him nourishing soups. When his body seemed weak, I bought him various tonics. I meticulously ensured he took his specialized medication, always supervising. I told myself these actions stemmed from sheer kindness. He was dying, let him enjoy a little more happiness. Richard, it seemed, grew increasingly dependent on me. At night, he clung to me, unwilling to let go. "Wife," he whispered, "if only I could stay with you longer." We lay in bed, his arm wrapped around my waist. From behind his voice, a pleading murmur that squeezed my heart, stealing my breath. I inhaled deeply, forcing words of reassurance. "Who knows what the future holds? What if one day you recover?" He chuckled softly, pressing a gentle kiss to my earlobe. My heart, for the first time, hammered wildly. Time raced. Only 1 week remained until month's end. Each day, I watched Richard grow frailer, a pang of guilt twisting inside me. But then, as soon as I regained my composure, that abysmal performance chart would flash in my mind. The final week, I decided to avoid him for a while. The crumbling gates of the underworld still stood just as I remembered. I stepped through, feeling the frigid winds whip past. In the darkness, two glowing eyes fixed upon me, and a ghostly voice resonated. "You dare return. Have you completed the task the Lord assigned you?" Heavens, you startled me. Lord Yama is already as dark as a burnt pillar, and now he's playing these tricks. I have nyctophobia. I can't see anything. Really nothing at all. I meekly replied, I came to check the performance board. Slowly, I approached the dreaded board. As expected, I was at the very bottom. This month, I was undoubtedly the lucky one again. I was sick of it. There was no doubt. By the end of the month, I would be fired. How humiliating. It turned out being an immortal wasn't as blissful as I'd imagined. Everyone strove for success, everyone but me. I hadn't reaped a single fragment of a soul all month, let alone a complete one. Richard was my last hope in my celestial career. Back in the mortal realm, I wandered the streets, helpless and dejected. I scanned my surroundings. No one appeared to be on the verge of death. Exhausted, I collapsed onto a park bench and drifted into a deep sleep. When I awoke, Richard's handsome face, etched with a subtle melancholy, was directly before me. He looked utterly emaciated. Only 3 days left, I thought grimly. He bent down, scooping me into his arms. "Who gave you permission to leave without a word? You haven't thought of me all these days. Do you have no conscience?" Seeing the sheer joy of reunion on his face, feeling the warmth of his body, I buried my head in his chest. Richard immediately fell silent. "Don't ever do that again." My eyes stung. "There won't be a next time, will there?" It seemed I had developed a fondness for Richard. When this realization hit my heart, erupted in a dazzling display of fireworks. And so, for the final 3 days of the month, I resolved to spend them well with him like a true wife. If I truly lost my immortal status, I would be no different from a mortal subject to birth, aging, illness, and death, to all the chaotic emotions. More importantly, I would lose all my memories as a celestial being, completely severed from Richard. I gazed at him intently. "I've noticed your illness doesn't seem as severe as before." "Indeed." He smiled, his fingers lightly tracing the bridge of my nose. "Why can your eyes see through me?" I playfully stuck out my tongue, then collapsed into his embrace. Joyful days were fleeting, for tomorrow was the last day of the month. In other words, today was the final stretch of happiness before I faced judgment. I had to return to the underworld today. I stood in the grand hall surveying the familiar scene, my heart heavy with regret. As if sensing my departure, Richard awoke early. He rushed out of the bedroom, embracing me tightly, his voice tinged with anxiety. "Don't go. Stay here with me." "My dearest," I thought, "I have my own destiny." I forced a smile. "I'll be back." His eyes reddened and he squeezed me tighter. "You're lying, I know." Before he could finish, I vanished. The underworld issued an urgent summons. I was called by a celestial decree. My colleagues chattered excitedly about the month's performance, but I couldn't even lift my head. Lord Yama stood on a high platform, his voice booming, as he reprimanded those who failed to diligently fulfill their duties. Just go ahead and call out my name already, I thought bitterly. After a lengthy scolding, Lord Yama finally sighed, his voice tinged with a strange helplessness. Julia, you're at the bottom again this month. Go remove your name from the immortal registry yourself. I wondered if I had misheard, but I thought I detected a hint of reluctance in his tone, as if he had just woken from a long, strange dream. I struggled, emerging from that fantastical slumber. Above me, a Hello Kitty chandelier adorned the ceiling. My entire body ached, as if unused for a long time, my mind still hazy. Uyen, Uyen, you scared your mother to death. You're finally awake. I parted my lips. Mom, she cried out, old Lee, our daughter's awake. Both my parents embraced me, weeping tears of joy throughout the night. Memories slowly resurfaced in my mind. A month ago, I had been in a car accident, falling into a persistent, vegetative state, likely never to awaken. But now, miraculously, I was conscious. My parents were overjoyed. Dinner was a feast. My parents sat beside me, each vying to speak. Daughter, you can't delay your studies any longer. Rest for 2 more days, and your father will take you back to school. Yes, yes, yes. You worked so hard to get into a university. You can't give up halfway. 3 days later, standing before the gates of a university, I stood transfixed for a long time. All right, I'm a university student. Perhaps it was a lingering effect of the accident, but my mind felt hazy until I adjusted to campus life. A month later, my spirits had significantly improved. After class, my roommate and I went out. On the way, we saw an old man, 70 or 80 years old, struck by a car. I instinctively moved to help him, but my friend tugged at my sleeve. Don't go near him. What if he's a fraud? You'll be in trouble. All right, I thought, snapping back to reality. After walking a considerable distance, a wave of guilt washed over me. I sprinted back, helping the old man to his feet. My granddaughter, the old man exclaimed upon seeing me, nearly making me drop him. What is this? Is this man a human trafficker, feigning distress to lure young girls? I instantly became wary, but seeing his face contorted in pain, beads of sweat on his brow, I couldn't bring myself to abandon him. Forget it, I decided. I took him to the hospital, ensured he was settled, and only then did I leave. Little did I know, this single act of kindness would lead to so much trouble later. That handsome guy by the gate is dreamy. Right, you think he's handsome too? I wonder who his girlfriend is. She's so lucky. I bet he doesn't have a girlfriend. He's always waiting alone. I've never seen a girl with him. My roommates whispered excitedly. I took off my headphones, packed up my laptop, and prepared to go home. I had never been interested in gossip. Today was Friday, and my home was in the city, so I could go back to my parents every weekend. The sun was warm, and I walked leisurely out of the school gate. What a coincidence. I immediately spotted the cold, domineering CEO, known campus-wide, standing by a luxury car. He was impeccably dressed in a suit, radiating an aura that screamed, "Do not approach." The May weather was sweltering, yet a cool, invisible barrier seemed to surround him. From a distance, I couldn't see clearly. As if sensing my gaze, he turned. With just a glance, he strode towards me. Around him, fangirls shrieked, snapping photos with their phones. Don't come here. I'm as afraid of fame as a pig is of fat. What if I'm photographed with another man? That would be the end of me. I took off running for my life. Thankfully, he didn't catch up. As I bent over, gasping for breath, I looked up to find him standing before me. His breathing, even not a hint of exertion. He stared at me, his handsome face betraying a mixture of profound sorrow and overwhelming joy. Then he stepped closer, pulling me into a warm embrace. Wife. What? The suddenness of it left me utterly bewildered. For a few silent seconds, we simply held each other. Then, regaining my composure, I poked his waist. Excuse me. I think you've mistaken me for someone else. Perhaps you should look again. He immediately released me, then lifted my face. At such close proximity, I could see every pore on his skin. His nose was high and straight, leading up to narrow, cold phoenix eyes that were now brimming with tears. I turned away in embarrassment, taking a step back. I'm sorry, you've got the wrong person. I have to go. I tried to slip away again, but he grasped my wrist. I could never be mistaken. You are my wife. I heard the trace of hurt in his voice and couldn't help but glance at him. He was looking at me. Caught red-handed, I felt a flush of shame. I'm a university student from an ordinary family. I certainly don't know a successful businessman like you. Please have some self-respect. With that, I turned and walked away. The wind carried his voice tinged with disappointment. This time you won't escape. Upon arriving home, I kicked off my shoes, collapsing onto the sofa. Everything that had just happened felt unreal. Mom, I'm hungry, I called out. She quickly appeared, stroking my head, pulling me into a warm embrace. It's almost ready, darling. I'm making your favorite sweet and sour pork ribs. I snuggled into her, feeling the comforting warmth. The third time I encountered that man, I had to admit, had he not acted so inappropriately, I might have succumbed to his devastating good looks. Such exquisite features were rare even in television dramas. Seeing him, I quickly took a detour, but he still managed to intercept me. He quickly strode to walk beside me. Wife, please talk to me. I beg you. He dared not touch me, following like a persistent shadow. I quickened my pace, speaking urgently. Please stop whining and go home and look in the mirror. I am not your wife. If you keep bothering me, I will sue you for sexual harassment. If he continued, I could practically write an entire novel about suddenly having a CEO husband. We reached the female dormitory and he gently tugged at my sleeve. It's clearly you. How can you deny me, you heartless woman? This time I burst out laughing, shaking his hand off. Listen carefully. This is the last time I'll say it. I am not your wife. If you continue to harass me, I will press charges for sexual harassment. My actions clearly startled him, and he looked even more aggrieved, tears streaming down his face. A man crying. The male beauty trap. I turned and ran straight upstairs. I thought that was the end of it. Little did I know I would encounter him even more frequently after that. Every few days, I'd see him on campus, in the library, below the female dorms, in the cafeteria. This kind of being stalked by a handsome man was truly unbearable. Following closely were countless shocking rumors. Female student kept by a sugar daddy. Female student seduces CEO of Trin Group, with her looks about to change her life. On the school forum, fabricated rumors spread like wildfire, accompanied by photos of me and the man, coincidentally, meeting all over campus. Even a blind person could see I was being watched. Just because he was handsome, it suddenly turned into me wanting to climb the social ladder. Furious, I posted a clarification, only to be met with dozens of comments calling me fake. Humanity had evolved to this point, yet such brainless individuals still existed. I surrendered. In the middle of the night, an account named Richard shot to the top of the school forum's hot search. The next morning, as soon as I opened my eyes, 3 pairs of eyes were staring at me. Confess honestly. What exactly is your relationship with the CEO of Trin Group? Are you secretly dating behind our backs? Confess now or face execution. I sat up, my hair a mess, and then explained everything. My 3 roommates looked at me as if I were insane. You mean he just spontaneously called you his wife? You mean you didn't even know his name was Richard? He's a real, genuine, domineering CEO. I ran a hand through my hair, calmly got out of bed, and poured myself a glass of water. I'm telling you the absolute truth. If I'm lying, may I be poor my whole life and never find a handsome boyfriend again. Besides, my ancestors, for 3 generations, have never even met someone so rich. After my monologue, I climbed back into bed to sleep, but I tossed and turned, unable to find rest. I opened my phone and saw Richard's comment. Don't scare my wife. It's me pursuing her. It had 9999 plus likes. What was happening? To make matters worse, I was surrounded again. Outside the library, several female students blocked my path. I looked up at their unfamiliar faces. I didn't know any of them. I was about to slip past when they blocked me again. You're Julia. How dare someone like you seduce Mr. Trin and even make him personally clarify things for you? I was already annoyed by the lack of seating in the library, and now this infuriated me further. I suggest you all move aside, or don't blame me for being impolite. What era is this to still be playing bullying games? The 2 sides argued for a while, then the girls started pushing. Only then did I understand these were Richard's fanatical admirers. Unable to pursue him, they had come to vent their frustration on me. After 2 attempts at peaceful resolution failed, I finally lost my patience. I placed my books and water bottle down, cracking my knuckles. It was time to show them the true strength of an amateur boxing enthusiast. Rayshard arrived just in time to witness the chaotic scene. The girls lay scattered on the ground, whimpering, crying, and pointing accusing fingers at me. To me, the wails of the weak were nothing but a gentle breeze. Rayshard walked towards me through the heart-shaped gazes of the fangirls, then uttered with an expression of admiration, "My wife is amazing, damn it. Shut up." In the principal's office, the girls and I stood listening as they vied to accuse me of my crimes. The principal slowly sipped his tea. "You mean one girl beat up 5 of you?" They all nodded in unison. The principal looked at them with an expression usually reserved for the mentally challenged, then dismissed all of us. There was no other choice. Why? Because, physically, they appeared utterly unscathed. Richard looked at me, a smile playing on his lips, then trailed after me like a little shadow. This time, I didn't chase him away. A strange warmth bloomed in my heart. He advanced, taking my hand. I intended to pull away, but then I caught a glimpse of his lips curving upward. Just like that, it seemed I had fallen, if only slightly. But that was as far as it went. Aside from his peculiar actions, he and I were fundamentally incompatible. He was a wealthy business elite. I was from an ordinary family. The wealthy usually valued social status in marriage. Therefore, I would never delude myself with fantasies of a happy ending with him. I was no longer a dreamy teenage girl. And so I decided to stage a play. It was still Friday, but this time I had a male friend accompanying me home, holding hands as we passed Richard. He clenched his fist, then grabbed my other hand. "Wife, why don't you need me anymore? Why are you holding someone else's hand?" He looked so pathetic and pitiful, it stirred a pang in my heart. A strange discomfort, like a ball of cotton, lodged itself in my chest. After walking a short distance, I released my friend's hand. He grimaced, pulling out a handkerchief to wipe his hand. "Transfer the money." I reluctantly pulled out my wallet and transferred 1,000 yuan to him, as per our agreement. The price of a fake gay boyfriend was truly exorbitant. Next time, I wouldn't hire him. You're not mistaken, I had hired a gay friend to pose as my boyfriend, to escape Richard's relentless pursuit. The fee? 1,000 yuan. My mood inexplicably plummeted. I hailed a taxi and went home. My mother had prepared a table laden with all my favorite dishes, but this time I had no appetite. "Xiao Uyan, it's raining. There's a young man standing downstairs. Is he your classmate?" Just as I lay down, my mother called out. I opened the window and saw Richard, standing in the rain, looking utterly miserable. This fool? It was raining, and he didn't even know enough to go home. No wonder he mistook me for his wife. "Mom, I'm going downstairs for a moment." Grabbing an umbrella, I quickly slipped on my rabbit slippers and ran downstairs. I held the umbrella high, trying to shield him. His face was pale from the cold, his clothes soaked. Rainwater streamed down his cheeks and neck, his long eyelashes heavy and wet. "Wife." My heart melted. I threw the umbrella aside and rushed into his arms. "You fool!" My rabbit slippers were now covered in mud, from stepping in puddles, looking utterly filthy, just like my turbulent emotions at that moment. After an unknown stretch of time, his voice resonated again. "Wife, come back to me. I beg you." I felt as if I had lost the power of speech, my body weak and pliant. An inexplicable joy spread from the depths of my being like flowers blooming in unison. "My daughter. So he's your boyfriend. No wonder you rushed downstairs. Both of you come inside and talk. It's raining so heavily. You'll catch a cold." I froze. This was my first time dating, and my mother had caught us. In the living room, my mother beamed her smile, stretching from ear to ear. She looked at Richard with an expression of profound satisfaction. This future son-in-law is truly handsome. I thought my daughter was so obsessed with cultivating immortality that she had no interest in worldly affairs. Turns out she just had high standards. It was rare to see someone as composed as Richard blush, but he did. He was wearing my father's shirt, holding a cup of hot water. I, too, felt my face grow warm, not daring to look at him. He, on the other hand, was perfectly at ease, chatting animatedly with my mother. And just like that, my sweet romance with Richard officially began. I must say, he was truly a considerate boyfriend. Always, everywhere, he took meticulous care of me. My roommates were all envious, and I felt as if I had won the lottery, as if a cake had fallen from the sky and landed perfectly on my head. In June, I graduated. My internship was confirmed, but I still hadn't found a place to live. As I deliberated whether to rent with my roommate or find my own place, Richard messaged me. "I wonder if I'd have the honor of living with my beloved wife?" Sad face emoji. I laughed aloud at the message, imagining his pleading expression. All right, princess, you have my permission. As happy and joyful as I was then later, I would be just as sorrowful and regretful. I thought the saying, times change unpredictably, was truly accurate. Being with Richard filled me with immense happiness, but I noticed that whenever he enthusiastically selected gifts for me, they were always things I disliked. Diamonds, for example, or blue roses. These things seemed deeply ingrained in his subconscious as if they were for someone else. But each time that thought flickered, seeing the surging love in Richard's eyes, I would immediately dismiss my suspicions. The day I moved out of the dormitory, it rained lightly. Richard drove to pick me up. The warm air in the car created a hazy, intimate atmosphere. I was filled with anticipation for the days ahead, to wake up every morning and see him. Richard's villa was enormous. As soon as we entered, the housekeeper brought me new slippers. Finally, Madam is back. Young master, for several years, you haven't. Before she could finish, Richard cut her off. A question stirred in my mind. Madam, I suddenly recalled the first time I met Richard, he had called me wife, and the gifts that seemed tailored to someone else's preferences. For the first time, I hesitated. Could all this love truly be for someone else? Richard led me to the bedroom door, kissing my forehead. His voice husky. You're tired. Go rest first. I still have some matters to attend to. I nodded obediently, entering the bedroom. The entire room was decorated in warm, pale yellow tones, completely unlike Richard's style. It wasn't until I saw the photograph on the bedside table that my smile died. It was an old photo, but meticulously framed, not a speck of dust, clearly treasured. In the picture were Richard and a woman who bore a striking resemblance to me. She smiled gently, her head leaning towards Richard, looking perfectly matched. And I was merely a substitute, a stand-in, with a face 90% identical to hers. Something shattered within my heart. The drizzling rain outside mirrored my desolate mood. I quickly ran downstairs. The housekeeper didn't even have time to call me back. Back home, I rushed straight to my room, curling up under the blankets, biting my lip to stifle my sobs. I didn't want my parents to see my ravaged state. After an unknown period, I succumbed to exhaustion and fell asleep. When I awoke, it was already dark. I slipped on my slippers and left the room. Mom, what's for dinner tonight? I emerged, my hair a bird's nest, my clothes wrinkled, to find my parents and Richard seated formally at the dining table, waiting for me. The atmosphere was so awkward, I wished the ground would swallow me whole. But seeing Richard, a bitter sorrow welled up inside me. How useless tears welled up again. I quickly wiped them away. I'm not eating. I turned to leave, but my wrist was seized. I turned back. It was that detestable face. But now he no longer had the radiant appearance of the daytime. Instead, he looked utterly exhausted, his hair slightly disheveled, his face drawn. Your parents went to Aunt Zhang's to play cards. If you two have something to discuss, talk slowly. With that, my parents left, leaving Richard and me face to face. Let go. I struggled, but couldn't escape his grasp. He looked at me, his gaze firm. Why does wife want to leave again? Listen to that. How aggrieved were those the words of a human being? Only then did I realize that from the beginning, he hadn't pursued me out of love, but merely because he saw a substitute identical to that other girl. How ridiculous. The couple so enthusiastically shipped by netizens turned out to be nothing more than an old cliché substitute trope from a romance novel. The love story I thought was mine turned out to be nothing at all. I wasn't even the protagonist. Richard held me tightly. The distance was so close, I could feel his body trembling, as if he feared losing me, or rather losing the girl I was replacing. Uyen, how should I explain this? This is a story so absurd, even I don't dare believe it. I laughed dryly. The truth is, you're using me as a substitute, aren't you? After all, you're afraid she won't forgive you if she finds out, right? He released me, lifting my face. What if I told you, you are her? Stepping out of the Trin family home, I still felt a sense of disbelief. This wasn't a joke. It could be made into a 3-part documentary. Richard's grandfather, a renowned feng shui master, had vowed to me that there was no such thing as a substitute. He told me I was a minor immortal, who by chance met and fell in love with Richard. Because I developed human feelings, I lost my immortal status, became mortal, and lost all my previous memories. The girl in the photo was me. It sounded utterly illogical, but he didn't seem to be acting, because such a ridiculous explanation could only be concocted by someone with 10 years of brain damage. And just like that, this bizarre story resolved the knot in my heart. I looked at the man before me with fresh eyes. A gentle breeze stirred, and the golden sun shone brightly. He turned to me. "Let's go home, my love." That night in my dream, I saw a man with an arrogant expression, yet he bowed in apology to me, wishing Richard and me 100 years of happiness. He also said a strange thing, that what suited me was not the path of cultivation, but the path accompanied by Richard. I didn't quite understand, but it sounded rather nice. Extra story, Richard's perspective. The day I discovered I had a terminal illness, I met her. Amidst the bustling crowd, only she looked at me, as if she understood my desperate plight. She always showed empathy, followed me, and listened to my laments. She was so kind, even comforting me. At that moment, an idea suddenly sparked within me, to tease her, to tell her I was dying, and had yet to marry. To my surprise, she agreed to a temporary liaison with me, and so I took her home to meet my grandfather. He was very pleased with her, and we soon married. She became my wife. During our first family meeting, my grandfather told me, "Julia is the greatest blessing of my life." He urged me to cherish her above all else. Initially, I didn't pay much heed, but she was truly adorable. I actually grew to like her a little. The day she disappeared, I thought she would be like before, returning after just a few days. But I never waited for her. For the first time, I realized that she had, unbeknownst to me, quietly occupied a vital place in my heart. My grandfather told me, meeting her was my good fortune. He also said, "My fate with her is not yet severed." My family, for 3 generations, had practiced divination. I had to admit, the divine arts were truly wondrous. 3 years later, my grandfather was hit by a car. He met my wife on the street. I had always been calm and self-possessed, but that day, I lost my mind rushing out of the house. That road was near a university, and so I waited at the school gate for a very long time. Finally, I saw the girl I had longed for day and night. In that moment, the withered branch in my heart finally welcomed spring. But she didn't recognize me. I didn't know why, even her preferences had changed. But it didn't matter. I knew she was definitely my wife. The feeling of holding her in my arms was the profound emotion and longing I had lost for so long. I gravely doubted why my wife seemed like a completely different person. I ran to ask my grandfather, but he only said, "Heaven's secrets must not be revealed," and half-jokingly added, "Your wife was brought to you by the accumulated virtues of your ancestors. She's an immortal." In truth, I believed him. From the day she came, my illness began to subside, and then it completely disappeared. Even my doctor exclaimed it was an unprecedented miracle. I became even more convinced perhaps my wife truly was an immortal. Extra story. Lord Yama's perspective. In my entire life, I have never done anything against my conscience, save for one instance. I wronged that newly appointed minor immortal. It happened like this. 300 years ago, I was not yet Lord Yama. I was just an ordinary pig butcher. Perhaps my killing aura was too heavy, for the vengeful spirits of those I had slaughtered came to demand retribution. I was plagued by strange occurrences. In my dreams, pig heads constantly chased me. In my deepest despair, I met an old man with the air of a sage. He claimed to be a cultivator and helped me dispel the evil aura. From then on, I no longer suffered nightmares. The old man smiled kindly at me and said, "Young man, you have a celestial destiny. I hope that in a few hundred years, you can save my grandson." I agreed. This debt of gratitude must be repaid. 300 years later, this prophecy indeed came to pass. Initially, I thought that whichever minor immortal from the underworld happened to encounter that boy near death, I would simply let that immortal handle it. Little did I know, the unfortunate soul involved would be Julia. And I never expected that little girl to have such unstable spiritual foundations falling in love with that boy. And so, everything was perfectly complete. Even the matchmaker praised me for easing his workload. The day Julia and Richard rekindled their love, I hid in the shadows, quietly observing. My heart was a little conflicted, but in the end, everything had a complete and satisfying conclusion. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more great stories.